Welcome to the Covi Way, the podcast where we break down the intersection of people and technology. Because IT isn't just about fixing problems, it's about enabling people to do their best work. I'm Dave Vint, CEO of Covi, and today we're talking about the connection between IT support and employee empowerment, and how the right approach to tech can unlock efficiency, collaboration, and innovation. Joining us today is Thomas Bray, Covi's Senior Tier 3 Escalation Tech. Thomas is the go-to problem solver when IT challenges escalate. But more than that, he understands how technology should work for people, not the other way around. Today, we'll be talking about how IT can be a strategic asset in driving business results, making employees' lives easier, and ultimately strengthening company culture. Thomas, welcome to the podcast. Really excited to have you here.
Thank you.
All right, let's jump right in. Question number one for you today. A lot of people think of IT as the department that you call just when something breaks. But at Covi, we see it as so much more. From your perspective, how does IT directly impact employee experience?
IT these days, it is as expected as walking into a room and being able to flip a light switch and those lights coming on. Mm-hmm. That is the expectation. So everything, like it or not, does kind of rely on IT knowing what they're doing and getting to a point where they are supporting the business and what the business needs from them.
Tell me more about that light switch that companies often see IT companies as.
Yeah, it is the phone number that you probably have a sticky note of on your monitor. It's the people you call. And for better or for worse, you're not always in the best mood when you're calling that number. Mm-hmm. But it is up to us to take those calls and to understand the technical problem that you're having and why you're talking to me, but also, the actual underlying issues that are going on, and make sure that that we are hearing you and listening and getting you to a place where you can put down the phone and move on with your business.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think the danger is in an IT decision maker seeing IT just as that light switch?
Because it is so expected, IT can absolutely be a force multiplier in an organization because everything interacts with it. IT people tend to be the sorts that really want to solve problems. And unfortunately, and I see this all in every IT professional community that I've ever participated in, where those professionals want to be more involved in the business, but feel like they're only being talked to when something goes wrong. So we tend to be good at solving problems, even problems outside of our own domain, for better or for worse. We have a tendency of saying yes. But if we're involved early on in a situation, we can get to a point where we can logic our way into solving business problems, even more so than just technical ones.
That's huge. I know we're really passionate about that at Covi. It's not just about flipping the switch. It's not just about break fix. It's about how IT is that undercurrent, that momentum that actually drives a lot of other organizational success. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you think the role of IT is in employee engagement and company culture?
I mean, your interaction with your IT team, and maybe that's not with a human being, when you onboard, one of the very first things that you do in an organization is be acquainted with the stuff that you have been given by the company, if you've been given stuff by the company, with which to conduct your work. Like, especially in white collar industries, these days you can go anywhere with a laptop. You could get your laptop. I remember earlier on this decade, I would hear stories of even IT professionals who would say, "Yeah, I found a new gig. I have to ship back the old laptop and get the new one," and that was the extent of their job change was switching laptops. Mm-hmm. And that's a key part of the employee experience. And how well that initial onboarding goes for somebody is huge in setting the tone for how operationally mature an organization is.
That's a great insight. That is huge. I have often heard it said that, and this was especially true in the peak of COVID, that you as an employee will see all of your company experience through that 15.4 inches, or that 12 inches, or that 13 inches, or whatever it is that was assigned to you at the beginning.
Yep.
And maybe your Outlook, maybe your email wasn't working quite right when you started. Maybe you didn't have the folder structure you were supposed to have.
Yeah.
Maybe it took 3 weeks for your printers to work.
Right. Yeah. Maybe you never got the courtesy call from IT, or unfortunately, sometimes maybe IT didn't even know you were hired.
That's right. That's right. And we see organizations all the time that struggle with these things.
Yep.
And I know at Covi, this is one of the first things that we're really passionate about solving. In fact, when a company onboards with us at Covi, during the assessment process, one of the first things that we do is to interview employees on the ground floor to understand their experience with IT.
Every single person. We have a great list of questions that we've developed over the years where we will run through with everybody from the front desk person to the back office people who typically aren't bothered by IT unless they need help. You know, we ask them simple questions like, hey, so what is it about your current computer that really makes you want to throw it out the window? And usually people are happy to talk about those things because sometimes they don't rise to the level of pain that would necessitate submitting a ticket. But if we can capture those issues up front, we can bring that to stakeholders and decision makers at those clients, those new clients, and say, hey, this is the pulse of how people look at IT in your organization. And that really helps us drive strong relationships with everybody to make sure that we're supporting them, specifically supporting them in the problem areas that they've had previous to coming to Covi.
Yeah, that's huge. That is huge. I know a standard employee engagement question that ends up on a lot of surveys is, do you have the tools you need to do your job correctly? And I think a lot of folks see that question, at least the folks writing these surveys from a management level, they see that as like, do you have a computer? Do you have a phone?
Like it's a commodity, right?
Exactly.
It's the same thing. It doesn't matter. I can just run down to Best Buy and get one, right?
There you go. There you go. And yet we know that impacts so much of their experience working in the company.
4 years.
4 years. Exactly right.
Yep.
And not only that, but if you are a company that is hybrid or if some of your team works remote, that statement around you see the entire company through that 15.4 inches, we know that is so much more true.
Absolutely.
Right? It's a big deal. Big deal. Thomas, I know from personal experience that you have worked on some of our toughest IT escalations, some of the most ambiguous, the most interesting, sometimes the most fun, but oftentimes the most chaotic.
Yep.
Despite all of that at the core, your job is about making tech work for people, right? And with your role in the company, that's more than individual tickets. It's also about the broader strategic sense,
Absolutely.
Right? Setting the tone and helping our organization point in that direction. Can you share a time when solving an IT issue went beyond just fixing something and actually made a big impact on someone's day-to-day work? So no light switch, no break fix, but actually shifted that employee's experience.
Yeah, one of my favorite stories from, and this is earlier on in my career, so not quite at Covi, was we had a customer who was a multi-site company, and they were all hitting a server that lived at one particular office. And for years, they had just kind of, like the performance wasn't great. And it was just fine. It wasn't good. And when it came time to refresh their equipment, I feel like I did a really solid proposal to my management where I said, hey, effectively, these two businesses have been running off of a pair of hard drives. Literally 2 hard drives in a server have been processing every bit of technical information that this company has been running through their line of business software to operate 2 big locations. Can we please, and this isn't our standard, but can we please bump this hardware significantly up beyond our current standard? Because I think that this will be a huge multiplier in their ability to transact.
So these are two really small pipes.
Yes.
That all of the company's motions are flowing
Absolutely.
through.
And I was able to convince all the decision makers at the time. And as far as I know, and it's been, some years since I've been in that role, that environment is humming along, and the support team is not getting the complaints that they used to. And the technology has faded into the background, which is exactly what we wanted to do.
That's the goal. Yes. Unto productivity, unto motion. And I'm sure there were some notable costs involved.
Absolutely.
In that server upgrade.
Yeah.
I would love to see some of the productivity numbers in that case.
Yeah, I would love that too.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
How much less time was spent. Mm-hmm. And you discovered this through a break fix ticket.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was as simple as, it's amazing. Can you give me another example of a time when you did this, when it wasn't necessarily about a hardware upgrade, but it was a process change?
Yeah, I remember I was working with a really, really tiny dental office who was just in the 2010s getting into the idea of having a server. And it was really fun to sit down with the staff at this office and say, all right, I know this is new to you, but we have a concept of a network share.
Ooh.
Where this computer over here, this box, has data on it that you can access from other places. And that was just, it was really fun watching the lights go on in people's faces, because they're like, oh, I get all of the things that I can do now.
Ah, the new possibilities.
All the possibilities.
That's got to be the funnest part of what we do.
And the funniest part is that as an IT professional, it is a network service that is the lowest common denominator thing that exists. But some people have the technology around them, but they don't know the potential that is sitting in front of them to be able to improve the efficiency of their operations. Like, we don't have to do new stuff necessarily. We just need to look at what are the problems in front of us, what is going on, and what tools do we already have even to be able to solve those problems.
Yeah, that's great. I love that part. That is when the light bulbs come on, but especially when we're able to take advantage of equipment that's already there and utilize it in a new way specific to that organization's process or function or flow. We're in an age where technology has more potential than ever before. I mean, look what's happening with platforms like ChatGPT and automation and these other LLMs. There's so much opportunity, but it's to the point where it is overwhelming.
Yeah, there's too much.
Way too much.
Yeah.
And you would think it would make it simpler to configure, but it's actually done the opposite.
Yeah, there's way too many options now.
Oh my gosh.
It's analysis paralysis.
That's right.
Yeah.
For most decision makers, most IT decision makers within the organization, I feel like it's one of the toughest times ever.
Yeah.
Because the gap is better known and the opportunities abound. The pressure, I think, would be higher than ever.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things that we really prioritize as a kind of a senior technology team, is that we're trying every day and every night, probably, we are looking at what's going on in the world and trying to understand, okay, so what is next? What is the next thing that Covi can be doing to help bring our customers forward into not necessarily cutting edge technology, because not every business needs cutting edge technology. I don't need to buy a $20,000 GPU loaded server and deploy it at an office to run an AI model. Like, we have more reasonable ways to solve business problems than throwing money at it. But to be able to truly look at what somebody needs, like the ability to close off an external network from outside attackers, to just literally prevent somebody from knowing that you have very secure corporate data that your people can access, but others can't, because you have built systems in such a way that they just can't get to it. Like, it's that kind of thing where we're not forwarding ports anymore. We're not, opening all the firewall floodgates. It's yeah.
At Covi, we're definitely about making the complex simple. I think that's a great example of that. With endless options, it doesn't mean endless amounts of money spent. Particularly in the nonprofit space, we're very passionate about connecting the right grant with the right solution, notably not the right product, but the actual solution to solve a process challenge. Security is always first and foremost for us. It's always paramount. But with that in place as a strong foundation and understanding of your employees' experiences on a daily basis, that's when we're able to explore.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
And that's when we're actually able to create multipliers and positive momentum for an organization. Gosh, so fun.
Nothing makes me happier.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's the best. It's the best. Let's expand on that for a second. Let's talk about IT not just being a cost center or
Sure.
just a depreciating expense, right?
It's not just a server in a closet somewhere.
Exactly. Collecting dust and making noise and beeping every now and then. We know it's so much more than that. When done right, we know it's an enabler. What's something that you wish more companies understood about the role of IT in their organization?
One of the magical things about an IT team is that because they are a service department, the business is their customer. They can have a more comprehensive view on how different departments and business processes happen than even those business departments do. And if you can organize an IT team that can successfully, strategically collaborate with your business teams, you can get so much done. It doesn't matter what it is. Like, there is always something that can be done.
That's great. That force multiplier effect, that exponential effect.
Yeah. And those are my favorite conversations to have, is to be able to ask the right questions, to pierce the veil, to be able to figure out like, we're doing that. Okay. What about this? Like, all right, yeah, let's see what we can do, and just be able to comprehensively solve a problem forever.
It's awesome. And scalable and very cool. That's
consistently.
Great. Yes. Clearly, as we're hopefully reflecting through this conversation, Covi's approach to IT isn't just about troubleshooting. It is about strategy, right?
Absolutely.
What are some small but powerful ways companies can leverage IT to help employees work smarter, not harder?
One of my favorite areas to tackle whenever I start talking to an organization, and usually this will be bigger companies just because of some of the platform considerations here, but one of the most satisfying problems to solve is to have IT work hand in hand with human resources or people ops, whatever they want to call them in the company, and say, hey, did you know that your HR platform that you use to manage employees probably can directly integrate with our technical systems? So that when somebody gets hired or they leave the company, those accounts automatically get created or disabled. And that reduces manual work. It ensures consistency. It ensures that accounts only exist when they need to. And it really strengthens ties between essential support teams so that everybody is on the same page and rowing in the same direction.
That's a great example. It's something that affects so many parts of the business, not just from a risk standpoint, but from an employee experience standpoint, onboarding and offboarding, immediate.
Or role changes too.
That's a great example. Yeah, role changes are huge. If you've just been promoted or moved to a different department, do you have the tools that you need to operate successfily from day one?
And you no longer have access to all the things from your old job.
That's right. Exactly. Again, risks and opportunities here. Yeah. That's a really great example. Okay, so Thomas, you've seen it all when it comes to IT issues.
Not yet.
Well, hey, always new adventures on the horizon, right? Oh, yeah. You have virtually seen it all. How about that? What are the most common tech frustrations employees face? And what's the best way for companies to get ahead of them?
Honestly, the most common frustration that I see is in improper asset lifecycle management. And even from the beginning, if somebody goes out, if a purchaser, a non-technical purchaser says, oh, we need a computer, there is unfortunately not a lot of thought put into the exact computer. Like we said, a computer is the thing, right? It's just a commodity. The amount of consternation that an employee will have over an employee or multiple employees will have over the life cycle of that computer over the next 3 to 5 to 7 to 9 to 10 to 12 to 15 years, depending on the organization.
Indeed.
That is unfortunately one of the most common problems, is just not investing enough upfront. People in payroll are usually one of the, if not the biggest expense to a company. Unfortunately, maybe good for us being in the industry. A lot of operations goes through that 15.6 inches and keyboard. So if you can buy a really nice laptop for somebody and it will work more consistently and be faster and not frustrate them, it's worth its weight in gold.
Oh, it makes sense. The asset management piece, the right investment piece. Again, we're not talking about going crazy here.
No.
But you have to look at it in terms of how productive that employee can be through the equipment that you gave them. If someone's cutting down trees, do you want to give them a handsaw or do you want to give them a chainsaw? You probably don't need to give them an excavator.
No.
But there is probably the right chainsaw that's going to allow you to plow through your work at the right pace and consistently operate when they need to start their workday. And, an example like that, a chainsaw tool, perhaps a commodity. But again, are we taking...
But a good chainsaw.
Exactly, a steel or something. Are you taking the time to think this through? Mm-hmm. And I think that's huge. Let's pivot and talk about security for a second,
okay,
because it's a huge topic right now. But I say that as though that recently changed. Security has been an issue always
since the
forever.
beginning.
Since the beginning of time. Yeah. Exactly. Since the beginning of technology. There was this great episode on NPR talking about the very first virus that was moved around on a floppy disk.
Oh, of course.
And if you haven't heard it, oh my gosh, I really recommend it. Like many things NPR, it's a rousing listen. Yeah. But this story of this virus that was, it really did nothing, but it was just something that floated around as this hobby project. It's just crazy story. Anyway, point being, security threats have been around for a long time. Mm-hmm. The technology has improved. The threats have increased at exactly the same rate, if not more. And part of that vulnerability comes from how many options are out there.
Yep.
With exponential combination comes exponential threat, right?
Absolutely.
How can organizations strike the right balance between the right IT security policies and enabling your employees to do their best work? Because we know at times this can be a balancing act.
Oh, it is. It is always a balancing act. There are very few scenarios in security where you get both usability and security at the same time. It is almost always a trade-off. For an organization, find those double wins where you can. My favorite probably being a combination of a really robust identity provider, something like Microsoft 365's Entra ID, or an Okta, or a Jump Cloud. Pick a big one, because they're going to be the ones with the features and the tools and the integrations through all of the rest of the applications that you have, you may want, you may never need, but you have the options. And then make sure that you are picking software that can integrate in with those systems, so that when you have a role change, it is as easy as saying, okay, great, you get moved from the application X users to application Y, and the old account is deprovisioned, you no longer can get access, and your new account in new line of business software is spun up. So those are some of those decisions, and unfortunately, a lot of that is solved with money and investment. You can get security and usability, but it is going to cost you. But it's worth it, because these are the paper cuts that really drive people crazy, and it leads to unfortunate lapses in situations where somebody will, because of convenience, they'll say, yeah, I have a few passwords that I use across the different websites that I have. And as soon as one website, one web application that you've used that password on is compromised, that identity is a time bomb, because somebody will be able to take that email address, that password combination, and send it over to, unfortunately, the other ones where you've used it. But if you have a really robustly constructed identity management and single sign-on authentication platform, you can prevent that by just not ever having a weak password in the first place.
Yeah, makes sense. I know that there's always the balance of the short-term versus the long-term investment.
Absolutely.
Or the short-term cost versus the long-term cost. We know that security threats like ransomware create such a significant long-term cost that, while I know some of these solutions can be a little on the salty side, the long-term risks, not to mention the productivity for your employees, far, far, far outweighs that entry cost.
Absolutely.
Almost all of the time. All it takes is one ransomware attack, right?
Yeah.
To bring down company savings completely, if not shut a company down altogether. And the insurance industry is not even close to being caught up in understanding how these risks work, or coverage.
They're trying to move fast, but
that's right.
They're still reacting.
They're very much still in a reactant stage. That's absolutely true. Absolutely true. I know that the technical team here at Covi works very hard to find the best value tools and the best value processes to make that decision, again, that complexity, as simple as possible for an IT decision maker at an organization. And I know how excited the team gets when there are new offerings or new solutions or new paths to integrate platforms. I know, because I'll get a text at 2 a.m. from one of the guys saying, "Dave, you'll never believe what I just discovered." And I love that passion that our team has, that even in our spare time, we're exploring these solutions. You can't stop.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of fun. That's right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pride in what we get to do.
Absolutely.
For the companies that we get to support and the solutions that we get to provide. But I just love that. Though certainly we'll continue to discover or to discourage working off the clock.
Yeah.
It's nevertheless, it's so great to see that passion from folks on that team. It's amazing. All right. So with remote work, AI, and the giant marketing bubble that word has become, and automation evolving so quickly, IT support is changing. It has to change. What do you think the future of IT looks like when it comes to employee experience as it continues to evolve?
I am hopeful that support teams can faithfully leverage AI technologies to be able to truly deliver a better first line experience for employees and organizations. Unfortunately, what we see a lot of is kind of a lackadaisical approach, where it's used as a cost-cutting measure. It's used to say, "Oh, we don't have to grow this team because we have
AI.
We have the chatbot. It can solve problems, or at least can fend off people long enough for us to be able to get to the ticket."
That's right.
That is not a good experience for anybody. And you have to be really, really mindful of how you're going to introduce those cutting edge technologies into customer service settings, because as neat as remote work and AI and everything is, for better or for worse, sometimes you want to be able to pick up the phone and talk to a human, preferably somebody that you've met and you can have a conversation about anything with, other than like, "Hey, here's the technical problem that I have."
That's right.
But we are always mindful of, how do we structure our systems such that companies that even aren't currently set up to be distributed teams will have the option to be able to pivot that way if their business needs or their business desires dictate it. So it's all about just keeping ahead and not getting locked into a path dependency problem. So
Yeah, absolutely. I know we have taken a very intentional and very careful approach to how we apply those tools here, not only in the name of security, but in the name of efficient process.
yeah, absolutely.
It's very easy to get excited about something like AI when it's showing up almost every day in my inbox from some stream that I follow,
Yep.
Wall Street Journal, tech news, the CIO news that I follow. It can be really tempting to start throwing technology at the problem.
Yep.
But referencing the thread we've been discussing for most of today, technology is something to be approached strategically.
Absolutely.
Right? For that same reason, I know that we've been very careful and intentional about how we recommend some of these newer technologies like AI to our clients, our customers, our partners. Not that we've ever held back, but we've been careful to say, what is the problem that we're trying to solve for?
Yeah.
Not, I have a product, let's find a problem.
Right. This is so neat. Let's do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Though we get excited about the
of
new
course.
solutions as much as the next guy, probably more so. Again,
Yeah.
referencing my 3 a.m. example. But I know that's very important to us in our approach. All right, I'd like to wrap up with this question for you.
Okay.
For companies looking to level up their IT support, what's one key mindset shift they should make to see better results from their technology?
This is something I've been talking about a lot with our team lately. And this is probably more on the from the IT department's perspective or the outsourced team's perspective. Every conversation that you have with customer is a consulting conversation. You are always finding the business problem that underlies the password reset. There is always a deeper situation going on because not all of these things happen in context. So if you as an IT professional or as a strategic leader in either a non-technical person managing an IT department or a technical person, you need to understand that your experience, your expertise, your team's knowledge and expertise is extremely valuable and should be shared liberally with the organization because you can help them solve problems that they might not even know that they have. And that's, I don't come from a technology background originally, and I had the good grace to work in or to be educated in a field in political science and public policy where that is the overarching goal. And I kind of fell backwards into technology and fell in love with it. But I started with that mindset. That was always the goal from day one.
That's great. And that's one of the reasons we love having you on the team so much. One of many is that when you look at an IT problem, you're always thinking about it through what is the true pain
Yep,
here,
absolutely.
but also what is the policy decision? What is the scalable process decision?
Yep.
And having the self-discipline to stop in the moment of a random day, a random ticket, and say, whoa. There's more under this particular ticket. Let's explore this. Let's work with our account management team. There might be a scale opportunity here for this organization, this nonprofit, this business. Maybe it's a revenue opportunity. Maybe it's a productivity opportunity. And as you were saying, I know it's something that you model and that you really encourage everyone at Covi with. It's what is that true pain underneath?
Yep.
Where is the opportunity?
That is what we are here to solve.
That is great. Thank you so much for joining us today as we talked with Thomas about Covi's broader IT strategy and our approach. There's always so much more than what we can cover in just 20 minutes, but we hope you found a lot of great ticklers here and inspiration that you can take back to your team. One key tip, one key bullet that you might find interesting in passing. Research shows that employees lose 22 minutes a day on average due to IT-related frustrations. That adds up really fast. Think about how many employees you have, how much time that represents on your team, and how much productivity you might gain. And this number doesn't even account for security-related items. We're just talking about friction in seeing your company through the world of their 15-inch display. There's so much opportunity here, and it's something that Covi would love to help you with further. So as we wrap up, thank you for sharing your time with us today. We really enjoyed the conversation. Hope you did too. And as always, make it a great day. See you next time.